Hi everybody, it's April. I hope you enjoy this video. It's my first time editing anything. So we have some FaberCastell pencils. I'm using the watercolor pencils. I'm going to go ahead and start coloring in these images using a variety of, I think it's dark sienna, burnt sienna, and walnut brown. I'm going to use a cadmium red on his collar. And so I don't know why I'm coloring in the whole image. For the most part, when you're using watercolored pencils, you don't need to do that. You just want to put a little bit like I'm doing here on the body and then draw your color out with the water brush. But I went in and colored it in like I was using colored pencils. So I'm still new at using the colored pencils, whether they're watercolored or not. So that's just where I went with this one. I did do it a little bit on the ears and nose, where I left some white space on the paper. So just going around here and touching it with the water brush, and you can see it gets a little bit muddled, so it really didn't matter that I added the 3 different shades of brown. You really could just go in with a dark brown at the top, or where you want the darkest, and then pull that all out. So we'll see here, you'll see in a minute, I'll pull it up close and kind of tilt the paper to show you how it really just muddles all together. It might be a little bit of shading. I mostly wanted to highlight on his back leg there, that would be more forward. And then on the bridge of his nose, the tip of his actual snout. And that was really only 2 areas I was pretty concerned about having a little bit of a highlight area. Now I go in here with kind of an off-white colored pencil and thinking that I'll, tone down the whiteness, and obviously I get some brown into the eyeball there. You can see I'm just pulling it out with some clean water in a tissue, and it comes right up. So I do enjoy that about watercoloring. And again, going here with cadmium red on the collar. I'll let that dry and come back in a little bit and add some more definition. So you can see here I'm zooming in, going to show you a little bit more how it kind of all became one color. So little tip, also if you get some outside the lines, you can just add again cold water, little tissue rag there to pull that up, and no big deal. So I'm just looking that over again. Yep, it's okay to me. I'll let it dry and go back and touch it up. Moving on to the kitty cat, I'm going to pick some different oranges and yellows to add. I have a cat who's multicolored, so I'm kind of going in here with some cadmium orange. I'm trying to add a little bit of striping, kind of how she has little splotches of black, yellow, and orange all over her, but she has a lot more white than what I left on this kitty, so that's who it's based off of, as one of my cats. She actually thinks she's a dog. She's a really lovey cat too. Not your typical cat. We really enjoy her. So going around and just softening up the oranges and the yellows, trying to get a little blending there. And I'll go over those orange spots here and soften those edges too. And I didn't see what color the yellow was, but I think it's just cadmium yellow. I noticed a lot of these said cadmium in front of the color. So I'm assuming it's really good, paint that they use in their watercolor pencils. Again, these are FaberCastell. So I'm going in with just some basic black here, adding some shadows in the black striping. I'll add some depth under that hind leg. And going in with the water brush, I really should have not added so much black, because you can see here it gets pretty darn dark in some areas. I'll have to go and do a lot of cleanup. So I would say if you were to do this, just, just do it a little bit lighter with the black pencil. You don't really need that much. And just trying to give it a little bit of character based off of my cat. So really there's too much yellow on this cat, but it's still cute. So I'll just continue to go ahead and clean some areas up and sop up some of the color and the water with the tissue. Add a little tip to the end of the tail, some more black. And I think I'm going to go ahead and touch up, just not messing with this, just adding some more black. Like I said, I should have really done these with colored pencils. And then I'll move on to that little dog bowl. and the little yarn ball. Now I don't wind up using that yarn ball because it didn't really come out that well. I think if I were to do it again, I would stamp that yarn ball in a colored ink and then heat emboss it, like a pigment ink that's colored, because I heat embossed all of these in VersaFine Onyx Black ink and then clear embossed over that. So yeah, you can't really get a lot of color behind that yarn, the striping on the yarn ball. So going over here with the little dog food bowl, I just added some more of that. I think it's the orange, it might be the red. I didn't catch that, my apologies. I'll try to list some stuff below if you guys want or have any questions of what colors I used. Yeah, that's the orange, I believe. Just let me know, and I'll you know, add more description in future videos. As again, this is just my first video editing, trying to play around, see how I do, what I need to change. So feel free to leave any constructive criticism in the comments below. But so yeah, you see here with the blue, I can't really, you just don't see it that much because of the black lines. So okay, so we've let those dry, and I'm going to go in with my Cuttlebug and cut these out. And for the most part, they're easy to line up. I just use a little washi tape to hold them down. I think I might get the Cuttlebug now has a magnetic platform. I might go get one of those and see how it works. So I'll cut those out, and we will move on. Now a couple of the, like the yarn, it didn't cut out the tail, so those were kind of tricky to line up. And I think I'm going to show you that here in a second where it missed some of the parts. Now the dog has little dog wags symbols at the back of the tail. I was showing you that that obviously isn't going to be cut out when you're using the dies. These are the embossing folders. Now all of this whole stamp set I got at Hobby Lobby. It comes with the stamps. This Simon says stitched shapes. I just cut those panels down with that. But the embossing folder, the kitty cats, now this one here with the stitched lines I'm doing comes with the cat. So these were all found at Hobby Lobby. The stitched embossing folder, the crazy cats, and the matching dies for the cats all come in one stamp set by Sizzix. And then the other one you'll see is like paint splatters. That embossing folder, the crazy dogs, and the matching dies for the dogs came in the other one. So again, I found all these at Hobby Lobby. I'm taking some gelatos. I took your basic orange and yellow for the background here. It's just a bunch of stitched lines. Really cool, I love it, but I wasn't liking it on the white. I wanted to kind of rub that out. This works a lot like a distressed crayon, but so my sponge here is just a makeup sponge. I might have come with one of the gelato kits, to be honest with you. But I'm just spreading that out, and I'm not going to like it, so I'll go back in and spray some water over it and mist it. And you can see here I'll mist that a little bit just to soften and get more of the yellow in the background. Squinch up that sponge a little bit, and then I'll go in here again and just move that color around, which you can do very easily with gelatos. And that gives me more of a yellow base. And then you'll see what I'll do here with it in a minute with the stitched lines that I wanted to really be a feature of the background. It's a really cool design. I like it a lot. These are really, really great sets. So I'll move on to the dog one, let that one dry for a minute. And these are more pearlized gelatos. I'll look for the actual name or the label of these particular ones, but they're more of like a pearl, a shimmer shade. So this is a teal, and I'm going to use a blue, which is really pretty. That comes off, and you see a lot of that iridescence or shimmer in it. And then that gold is also really, really pretty. So I'm just going to go around and kind of touching the edges of those paint splatters that are embossed forward. And I really wanted the look of, you know, that it was a splattered background. So you'll see me, what I'm touching here is all the embossed raised edges. I'll go around, tap that, add some color here and there. I'm trying to keep an idea of where my colors are and balance on the page. I'll go back in and touch up some little areas that are blank just to give them a little bit of color. So I believe this one here is the gold. Oh no, it's the green. Really pretty gold, like a teal. So I'll add some more of the blue. You can see there the dots that I'm touching and the gold. So just trying to balance out the color, you know, not to have too much of a blank white space on that area. Now I'll spritz this a little bit with some water just to kind of move it, soften it so it doesn't look like it's literally just crayon on the page. And I really didn't do too much. I just let that dry, and then I'll dry it off with my heat tool. I like how that came out. So now I am going back over this piece that is dry and just lightly touching the edge of those stitched, embossed stitched panel, you know, the swirls. So I'm just lightly taking the gelato pen and going over the crayon and just touching those dots. It was kind of hard because I couldn't really see where the swirls were, so I missed a couple and went off the page or off the swirls, but for the most part, I thought it brought those stitched lines back forward for the viewer to see, or, you know, on the card, it'll look better with that dimension there. I love that. So now we're going to move on to actually putting the cards together. I couldn't decide which card bases I wanted, the white or the orange, and I kind of go over with a little filing sponge on the edges of my card there. I did decide on the orange one. Sometimes when you cut your cardstock, you get a little frays. And the infamous tape runner issue. So this one just broke on me. The other one I had tried before ran out. So I'm going in with this little mini Tombow one. That one had some tape left in it. And so I'll just add this card front panel to my card. And go in and use some 3M foam tape. Oh, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and stamp out my little handmade from the heart greeting that I use on all of my cards. I keep forgetting to do it, so I've decided just now when I flip my card over to do it so I don't forget. But yeah, that's the little stamp I use. So filed my card edges a little bit more. Now I'm going in with the 3M foam tape. And I'll stick this panel up with the sentiment that came from that particular stamp set. Meow, you doing? And I'll just get that a little bit straight. I did go ahead and use some stitched, like I said, the stitch shape. So I'm trying to line up the stitching on that sentiment with the stitching on the card panel. So when you see me doing that, that's what I'm doing. I'm lining up the stitch lines. Same thing on the bottom here. Now I did use a stitched landscape border on, you can see the one with the dog that I'm using over there, and this one was kind of like the leftover piece, so I just used those for something to ground the animals. I think it was just like stitched hillsides or something. Might even have been like from a Christmas time, snow banks or something like that. So yeah, I'll line this one up and get my little kitty on there. And I'm still trying to figure out how to, I fast forwarded a lot of these scenes. So they're almost up to 4 times forwarded. So I try not to do any sections. I slowed down sections that I thought might make you dizzy if my hand was moving too fast. So those sections were slowed down, but some areas I realized I probably could have sped up more. So I'm not sure how to do all that yet, but at least I got this part, you know, I got all this done today. I was really proud of myself, and hopefully it's okay. No, not dragging too much on every scene that I'm doing. So I'll go in with some enamel dots here. And if you hear my son in the background, I apologize. I'm out in my living room recording this, and this is my first time doing a voiceover, again, first edited video, so I apologize if you hear him in the background. He's playing a video game with his friend. So if you're wondering, or if you hear any background stuff, that's what that is. So adding these little enamel dots, and that's the end of the card 1. Now we'll go in with the doggy. And again, trying to decide what card base I want. I have the white basic, and these are all A2 size cards, 4.5 by 5, or 5.5 by 4.25. And I decide on the craft card base. I just thought it brought the dog more, center focus with the dog. I do love the teal, but I do choose the craft in the end. So I'll go in and do the same thing. I'll, just add my card front. And this one I really had a problem lining up. I don't know, sometimes when I have card panels like this one is a splattered, it throws off my eye where I feel like I'm not centering things properly. So you'll see me tear it up a couple times. I'm surprised it came up as much as it did. But so I'll go and pull it up and try to straighten it, thinking that it's crooked. And it's really not. Now that I'm looking at it, it would have been fine. So I'll notice it here in a second. It'll start bothering me. Yep, right there. So I'm going to tear that off. And it's probably because I used a tape runner that wasn't such a strong adhesive that it let me pull that up. So I'm off screen here, so I can try to look right above it. And you see, it looks straight there to me, but I guess when I was doing it, I didn't think it was. So, excuse me, I pulled it off twice. So you can see I do that again. And I added some more tape because I felt like it was obviously not strong enough that it let me pull it up twice now. So finally I think I've got it, and yep, there we go. Done, and I'm going to go ahead and add the landscape part. I want to get my dog on there first before I see where I'm going to put the sentiment, just so I can kind of properly place it on the card. I'll add some more 3M foam tape. You can probably hear my son in the background. If so, I apologize, but he's having fun. It's Saturday. I'll line that up with the stitch lines on the outside again. Add my little doggy on there. And if I can learn how to add some music on certain sections, I will. It took me forever and a minute to try to figure out how to even do this voiceover. I'm not even sure it's recording me right now. Hopefully it is. Alright, so we're going to add these little tiny foam dots to his ears. And I do enjoy this foam tape. It makes it much easier than other brands I've tried. But once I place him on the card front, then it'll give me an idea where I want my sentiment. We'll put that on there, and